Isabel, let's go ahead and get into your scalp exam for today. So I have a couple things that I will just kind of look over here in your chart, make sure I'm not missing anything before we get started. It looks like you're here just kind of for your yearly examination. I did see it notated that you were having a little bit of itchiness of the scalp, possibly due to dryness. Looks like you have a history of mild dandruff, nothing severe, and you're just wanting to make sure that there's nothing major going on today. Okay. I did see it notated that you were having a little bit of a tingly sensation. You had a couple headaches last week in like this area. You were feeling a little bit of a tingle. Okay, so we will go ahead and have a look at that today. Not sure what the cause of that could be exactly, but I do want to make sure that we have a look and make sure that nothing is going on more seriously with that, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started with your exam. I'm going to start by just putting a pair of gloves on. Give me just 1 second. I'll have a look at your hair, just kind of an overall inspection. I'm just going to take a look with my light. You feeling okay today? Yep. Good. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with just kind of a visual inspection. I just want to get an idea if anything more serious could be going on. If I see anything on an external level, then I'll kind of know where to go. But if I don't see anything, then we'll have a closer look at your scalp and go from there. So I'm just going to turn my light on and having a look at the skin around your hairline. So typically, if there's anything more serious going on, anything external as far as dermatitis, any signs of infestation or inflammation, that does tend to kind of protrude along to the hairline area, but I'm not seeing anything so far. I'm not noticing any thinning of the hair around the hairline or anything like that. No signs of discoloration, which is great. Specifically looking in this area where you said you were experiencing that, tingling feeling, I'm not seeing anything here either. Okay, so just having a look at your hair as a whole, I'm going to look at the shaft in its entirety. So your hair is fairly long. I'm just going to take a smaller section here. Having a look at the ends of your hair and not noticing anything abnormal here. So there's no signs of excessive split ends. It does actually look like you might have had a haircut recently because your ends are pretty blunted, which is good news. So how frequently do you get haircuts? About every couple months at least?
Every quarter.
Every quarter, okay, good. So about every 3 or 4 months is great. Make sure you're cutting the dead ends off. And it does look like you color treat your hair, but I'm not seeing any cause for concern there, so that's great. So what I'm going to do is just take a brief note of my initial findings. So your external scalp exam so far is seemingly within normal limits. I'm not seeing any signs of outward dermatitis, like I said, nothing along the hairline itself. The follicle appears to be intact. I will have a closer look at that here in a second. It does also appear that the hair shaft is healthy. I didn't notice any excess split ends or any damage to the hair caused by color processing, which is good news. You did say that you get regular haircuts about every quarter, which is great. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next part of our examination, and I'm just going to have a little bit of a better look here. So what I'll do is take my comb and just section off a little part of your hair so I can kind of have a better look. I'm going to start just by combing back here. I want to get a little bit of a closer look at your hairline, and in order to do that, I'm just going to comb the very front part of your crown back so that I can have a better look here. Okay. Good. Okay. So I have a little section here that I've just separated so that I can get a better look at the scalp, and I don't see anything here. Is this about where you were feeling the tingling? Kind of in this area?
Yeah.
Okay. So the scalp is normal in color. I'm not seeing any signs of discoloration. No signs of hyperpigmentation or lack of pigmentation. So there's no demelanated areas in this section of your scalp. Also not seeing any signs of broken skin. The follicles do appear to be intact. There's no signs of a rash or anything like that. Definitely no signs of any kind of infestation. So I am going to go and have a look at this area with a little bit of a different light. So this is called an otoscope, and we use it for a couple different things in the medical field, but for today's purposes, I'll be using it just to have a little bit of a closer look at your scalp. So just gonna have a look in this area, and I'll be holding this section of your hair just slightly taut so that I can have a closer look here. So just excuse me as I get fairly close to your head. Okay, so follicle is definitely intact. I'm not seeing any signs of acute folliculitis. So there's no signs or symptoms of inflammation of the hair follicle at all. Just gonna make a little bit of a tighter part here. Okay, so I can see the follicle very clearly. Definitely no signs of acute folliculitis here whatsoever. The skin is intact. It does appear well hydrated. I'm not seeing any signs of open areas or broken skin at all. No redness or irritation noted. Not seeing any overactivity in your glands, so it's not overly oily. Your sebaceous glands have not clogged any of the pores of your scalp, which is great news. So I'm wondering if the symptoms you were feeling were more migraine symptoms that were kind of secondary, unrelated to your hair, more so just a headache, possibly a tension headache that you had in this area. So tension headaches tend to be kind of in the temporal / forehead area, and they can sometimes protrude into the hairline. Sometimes severe migraines can produce a mild tingly sensation. I will do some brief sensory testing here shortly just to make sure that there are no neurological abnormalities that are going along with that, okay? So what I would like to do is use another one of my tools to just have a little bit of a better look at certain pieces of your hair. So these are just a pair of elongated tweezers, and they will help me part sections of your hair as well as just be able to kind of inspect individual pieces. Okay, so just relax for me. You're just going to feel me kind of poking and prodding around here, just getting a little bit of a better look. Now that I have a bigger section of your hair parted, I can see some very slight discoloration here. Maybe some mild flaking, but nothing that appears overly concerning. I would say that you just have a very small patch of dandruff here. And sometimes that tingly sensation really can be more of an itchiness. So I'm wondering if we maybe just need to prescribe you a little bit of a stronger shampoo, something like a ketoconazole shampoo, which will help combat some of those symptoms that you might be having. So let me just section off another piece here. Same thing here, noticing just a little bit of that discoloration kind of in this area. Okay. So I'm going to be using these to separate some very, very small sections of your hair. And I'll do that in a couple different areas just so that I can have a look and make sure that I'm not missing anything in any given quadrant of your hair. So start here. So just running these down the length of your hair and looking for any signs of abnormal weakness in the hair shaft. Something that could indicate a protein deficiency or another vitamin deficiency that maybe would make me think this is a nutritional imbalance. If there's extra or excess weakening of the hair shaft, that usually means that there is something missing in your diet. So just having a good look at the hair itself. Good. Okay. I'm going to do that with another section here. Perfect. Okay. Just having a look. And I'm actually going to my light here. Okay. not seeing anything. The hair shaft looks normal. Okay. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go in with another tool. And this is just a little bit of an agitation tool. So it's very soft silicone. I will kind of show you here. So just very soft. It's not going to hurt you at all. So this side is like a silicone scrub, and then the other side is just slightly bumpy here. And this will just allow me to agitate this area of your hair and see if there's any flakage or anything that I see that looks to be abnormal. So just using this as another indication tool here. So I'm going to very gently rub the surface of your scalp with this, and it should actually feel a little bit relieving of that itchiness. Any pain or discomfort here? Good. Okay. So the fact that this area is not painful to you at all is a good indicator that there's nothing more serious going on. So, not seeing anything there, so I'm going to do that in just one more area just to make sure. So no positive indication that anything is wrong there. So I'm going to do something similar with my next tool, and just to give you a demonstration, this is just a pipette, and this is going to produce very, very gentle puff of air onto your scalp, okay? So with this tool, I'm looking for any signs of pain or discomfort, and if it is indicated, then it could be a sign of peripheral neuropathy. Not something we see commonly in the scalp, but I do just want to make sure that that isn't the cause of your tingling sensation. So just going to continue to produce a small puff of air onto the scalp, looking to see if there's any indication of a positive reaction here, but so far I'm not seeing that. I'm going to do that as well in one more area of the scalp. Good. Okay. So nothing of note there. Give me just a second while I just jot that down. Okay, so check that. So no signs so far of neuropathy. Test was negative. Individual strand test was negative as well. No signs of folliculitis, but I did note some slight discoloration in those two areas. Kind of left side, I would say mid-crown, parallel to the ear, but maybe 2 or 3 inches back, closer to the spine. Let's go ahead and move on to the next portion of your examination. And I think at this time, I want to just take a brief measurement. I really just want to measure from one side of your ear to the other. So just going to make sure that I'm at the very top of the ear there. for about 12.5 inches. Okay, and let's go 12.5 inches as well, so there's no sign of inflammation of the cranium. And then just to make sure, that was about 3 inches parallel to the end of the brow line. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go in with this tool, and this is just called calipers, and this is just a measuring tool essentially. So I know it looks a little medieval, but I'm just going to use this to take another measurement here for you, okay? So this time I'm measuring from your ear to the indicated area. So 4.5 inches there. So it is kind of at a triangulated pinpoint here, which is interesting. So that is another indication that this is possibly due to migraine headaches. So that is something that we might want to look into. Don't have a history of headaches, so that is slightly concerning, something that I might want to refer you out to a neurologist for, simply because they have better tools and they're just better equipped to be able to deal with that sort of thing. So they would likely perform something called a cranial nerve exam, just to rule out any neurological dysfunction and make sure that your headache is not due to something more serious like cranial edema or anything like that, okay? Make sure that there's no underlying aneurysm or anything that is far more scary than anything that's likely happening here. So I don't want you to worry, but I would like to get that referral out just to be sure that there's nothing more serious going on here. So so let me just jot that down. Okay. So would you be open to seeing a neurologist for those headaches?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I do have someone in-house who is amazing. She's a specialist, and I think that she would be a good fit for you. So I will go ahead and notate here that I would like to refer you to our in-house neurologist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just want to indicate that that was about 3 to 4 inches, and we are looking at the area that is parallel to your left ear. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next portion of our examination. And I believe the next thing that I would like to do for you is test for some of those neurological symptoms that I was talking about. So I'm only going to be testing this briefly in those affected areas. When you go to see the neurologist, they will do a more in-depth sensory examination to rule out any abnormalities with your cranial nerves. For the purposes of today's test, I'm only going to test this in this one affected area. So I'm just going to separate your hair here into 2 parts, and this will allow me to expose kind of that area that we talked about where you have some of that discoloration, which I am seeing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and test with a couple of different things, and I don't want to startle you with any of them, so I will be testing them just to give you an example here on your forehead, okay? So this is going to be very cold. This is called a tuning fork, and for the purposes of today's exam, I'm just using it simply to test for cold sensation. So cold and vibration. For this, you'll just feel very cold. And I just want you to tell me if this area here feels the same coldness as this area here. Okay, so there's no difference in sensation here versus here. It doesn't feel warmer here. Good. So And now I'm going to produce a vibrating sensation. And again, just to give you an example, this is what that feels like, very mild vibration. And I just want you to indicate the same thing if it feels the same. So here versus here, the vibration should feel exactly the same. Perfect, good. Okay, and then I have another tool here, and this is very soft. So this is two sides. The first side is going to be a very soft sponge, and same thing, so very soft here. And that should feel the same. Perfect. Good. And the other side is like a little scratchy silicone brush, and this should feel the same as well. Good. Good. Okay. And lastly, I have two globes here, and one of them is cold and one of them is warm. So I would like you to just indicate what you feel. Cold, very good. Cold, good. Warm, very good. Warm, good. Okay. Both, good. Both, very good. Okay, so no positive indication there. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is perform some gentle percussions of your hairline. I'm just looking for a normal neurological response here, so you don't need to do anything per se. You're just going to feel some light tapping along your hairline, and it's just going to feel like this. Okay. Good. Good. Perfect. I'm going to do the same exact thing, this time using a smaller tool, and I will not be using my fingers as a stop this time. So as opposed to this, you would just feel very gentle tapping of my hammer here, okay? Okay, so I'm not seeing any positive indication here either. And I am also going to just very gently do that on this affected area. Good. Okay. So I do. Just testing for, again, for that peripheral neuropathy, but definitely getting a negative response here. No indication of a positive finding. Okay, perfect. Okay, Isabel, let me go ahead and catch up on my notes for just a second here. We have completed your scalp check successfully, so thank you for that. You did very well. I hope it wasn't too uncomfortable. I know some of those neurological tests can be a little bit uncomfortable, but you did very well. sure that I checked off all the tests that we completed today. And then just indicating that you do need a referral to Dr. Perez for that neurological assessment, and I will indicate here that I would like them to do a full cranial nerve exam. Okay, well, I will go ahead and give you a copy of this that you can provide to Dr. Perez when you go to that appointment. So if you would like, you can schedule that here today before you leave. So I'll give you a couple minutes to get dressed. If you'd like to just go up to the nurse's station when you're done, the secretary, Sarah, will get you all settled. She will make that appointment for you. And then she's in the same office. Dr. Perez is just down the hall. So when you come in for your cranial nerve exam, you'll come in through the same door, and then the secretary will indicate you where to go from there, okay? Okay, so this is your referral slip. I will leave this here with you. When you're dressed, you can just take that up to the desk. Okay. Thank you so much, Isabel. It was good to see you today.
Thanks.